our first vlog or video podcast or whatever. I'm Veronica.
I'm John.
And we started a podcast a while back, but we didn't really do anything with it. And people have been asking us to do more about our full-time travels and our experience traveling with 2 little boys and 2 dogs. And we just started doing this in our 5th wheel around the U.S. and hope to do it for at least a year or so if things work out. And we'll get more to our house sale and how we're affording it and all that stuff another time. But basically, we wanted to introduce ourselves and explain why we're doing this. So basically, we just wanted to do something different. We're not normal people.
Yeah, I guess it just breaks up the monotony of you wake up, you go to work, you go to sleep, you wait for the weekend, and rinse and repeat. And we're just not rinse and repeating anymore. We're now rinse and repeating of waking up in a campground and seeing what we want to do that day.
Yeah, so basically the idea we came up with it about 3 years ago or so when our oldest was a baby, and we always loved traveling before we had kids. We spent our 20s traveling as well as fixing up a foreclosed home and working really hard and playing really hard, and we wanted to get into good financial standing, and we knew we had goals of still traveling even after we started having kids. And for a while we didn't do as much when our first was, a newborn, but we came up with this idea and we started looking at campers, and we thought it was just this dream that we would never really do, or maybe we would one day, but it would be so long from now. And we did a little bit of traveling with him. He's been on a plane a few times, and he'd been to a few states, and nothing huge. And then we got pregnant with our second, and then we said, we still want to do this. And the reason is because we want to have an adventurous and full life and live our life doing experiences and not focusing on things and keeping up with the Joneses and doing all of the things that I guess you're supposed to do. And we got really tired of just following the path that we felt we were supposed to follow, which we did. We went to college, we got jobs, we got married, we had kids, and we waited to have kids. We waited until we were in good financial standing. We were, 20 and 29 years old, and we did everything by the book and right. And then it was okay, now what? Right?
Well, it's not only that, it just wasn't as much as we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Right? You go to school, you get these degrees, you get a job, and you still don't make enough. I guess that's why it's the whole...
To keep up with everything you're supposed to do in life.
Yeah.
And by all the things that you think are supposed to make you happy, but don't. And then, not to say that you don't need money at all, of course you do, but we aren't throwing caution to the wind and just saying, hey, let's go on this trip. Like I said, it's been planned for 3 years, as well as it had really been in the works unknowingly even longer before that, because we had been working towards these goals of financial freedom and travel and everything, but not with this specific idea in mind. But it takes many years to get to this point, and unless you're just really wealthy or really rich. And I think most of the people that we have found online, which is how we came up with this idea in the first place, was seeing, hey, other people do this, why can't we do this? This sounds awesome. And there's 1 million people in the U.S. right now that do this full time, which isn't a lot, really, because there's 330 million people in the U.S., so it's less than 1% of people. But
I guess to back up to, it's the way we lived our lives is more of I pushed really hard early in our relationship to be more frugal and to be more not spending as much and looking at our spending and just being debt free. I pushed really hard for us to get a deep understanding of debt free and to not be caught up in these things. You buy a new car, you're going to have a payment, so you're locked into that. That's a payment you got to do. And you buy a house, same thing. I don't like the idea of this long. The typical person will get involved with houses and cars and stuff, and the
latest everything, biggest TVs, biggest houses.
Yeah, and they'll be locked into these payments for the next 30 something years or anything like that. So Veronica's lucky to not have any student debt, neither do I. So we're not caught up in paying for that, and we didn't get caught up in paying. Well, you had bought your car new back in the day.
Well, we followed Dave Ramsey many years ago, and we started doing the snowball method, where we paid off all of our debts that were everything except for the house.
Really. Not exactly. We did listen to him and follow him, but I'm a big financial numbers person, and we didn't follow that exactly because it came to a point of
our own way of doing it.
Yeah.
We basically paid off all our debt. We worked really hard to pay off all our debts, except for the house. And the house, which we'll get to in another time, all the details about that. But our house payments were really low because we bought our house as a foreclosure and fixed it up. So we didn't want to live our lives being tied down to a place and a lifestyle and all of that. So the type of people that usually do this, and from what we've seen, are people like us. So there are people like us. We're not the only crazy people. It is a small percentage of people, but there are other people out there. And typically the people that are doing this who are not older retirees or like really young people without kids, and sometimes those people as well, the ones who are doing it with families like us are people who have worked very hard to live a very purposeful life and make this decision with a lot of planning and a lot of thought and a lot of research. It's not something that people just take lightly for the most part and just do it. Our mindset, and that's typical, I think, of a lot of the people that do this, is financial freedom, not being tied down to things, not being tied down to stuff, not being tied down to debt, and living a life that is full and that is experience and that is learning about the world, and not just being stuck in our own little rut, in our own little corner of comfort. And we really push hard to break out of our comfort zone and do different things and show our kids that. And we're really lucky because we have kids that like doing this stuff. Our kids, they're wild boys, and they love being outside, they love being in the water, and they love exploring, and they love adventuring, and so they're really perfect for that. And a lot of people have asked us, like, some of the biggest questions we've gotten is, well, obviously why? Because we want to live life and we want to have experiences, and our kids do. But another thing is, don't you think it'll be hard with kids and dogs? And
it is.
But it's worth it. And I think that
it's tilting real hard.
That is, we're in the mountains, if you can't see, by the beautiful scenery. On our way to Shenandoah. We're actually at a campground in Shenandoah, but it's far away. Anyway,
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, when you live a life of, when you're trying to get your finances in order and be frugal, and when you have all this, not necessarily have all this money, when you have the opportunity to shift your finances to where it can support something like a trip for this, that's another big reason of why we do it. Everybody works until they retire, and then that's when they finally get to do stuff like this. But if you early on in your life make these things a priority or a focus, then you can do them. Why not do them now? Why not do them while you're young instead of when you're older and you probably have some chronic conditions? It makes it harder. You're not as active, stuff like that. It doesn't mean we can't do that in the future, but it means we just have this rare opportunity to do this with our kids while they're young and before they start school.
Yeah. In a way, we felt that this was a great time and a great age for them because they aren't in school yet. They aren't tied down to friends and activities and all of that stuff. And it just, the timing of it works out well. And so our next chance might not be for many, many more years. And again, it's not that we're just being careless about it. This has been a long time coming, but we didn't want to miss that opportunity. And you just never know. You might not have tomorrow. I was diagnosed with hip dysplasia last year, and that really made me think, like, I don't know how my hip's going to be in a year or 2 years, and eventually I'm going to need surgery. And, we wanted to just go ahead and do it. And our little one's taking off his shoes. And what else was I going to say about this?
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
This is not easy.
It's not a vacation. We're not spending money. We're not. We're cooking all of our meals in the camper. our fridge is broken. We have to get that fixed. But we're cooking all of our meals in the camper. You know, we're not going out and doing expensive touristy stuff. You know, we're living a frugal lifestyle just like we did at home. And, you know, this has been a long time of adjusting and sort of reworking our lifestyle. So, you know, we spent years purging our stuff and sort of...
Oh, goodness. Getting rid of all your stuff in your house, like going through all your things and prepping and like condensing everything in your house into a camper is not fun at all. It takes forever, and
we didn't even have as much stuff as I think a lot of people did.
You don't realize how much stuff you have until you start to pull it all out of your closets and out all the nooks and crannies you've hidden things into. Once you've pulled all this out, looked at it, and decide, do you need it, do you don't, do you pack it, do you put it in the camper? That took weeks, and that is not fun.
Weeks, months, years. So yeah.
Well, when we were getting down to packing the camper.
Yeah. I think that
we were purging for years before that.
I definitely think that this is not for everybody, and I don't think that we are like right and other people are wrong. If what makes you happy is to be in a familiar area, and you don't really like to step outside of your comfort zone, and you enjoy things like big TVs and, you know, stuff, that's some people, you know, and that's fine, but that's not us. It's just different. And I think knowing and respecting that other people have different lifestyle choices. And we've been lucky that everyone around us, for the most part, has been supportive. You know, they've kind of thought we might be a little bit crazy and have kind of said that. But
they don't understand.
They don't understand it. But we grew up in families that are very different from the way we are and the way we are raising our family. And it doesn't mean that we don't think that there are some good things about our families, the places that we've come from. We both had very different upbringings, and both of them have pros and cons. But we are finding our own path and our own way of life, and there are a lot of things that we are doing different that our loved ones don't necessarily understand or would ever want to do themselves, and that's fine. But for the most part, people have been respectful of it and happy for us, even though they may not understand. But I guess our goal is to inspire people to think outside the box and inspire people to do things different if that's what you want to do, and inspire people to follow their dreams instead of just doing things the way that they think they're supposed to, or feeling like they're stuck. And again, this is all a conscious decision every single day. It is deciding not to be lazy and get takeout food. It's deciding not to buy the latest things. It's deciding, I mean, every single day, every single week, every single month is conscious decisions that have led to where we are now and to what we're doing. You can't, unless you're just born rich, you can't just do this, you know, without a lot of planning. So I think that it is a lot of work and a lot of time in planning, but I think that people can do it, and we want to inspire people to think that way, that they can do it and not feel like they're stuck. And this thing keeps sliding.
Yeah, it keeps looking at me.
And to not feel like they're stuck. And to just give people ideas. You know, maybe this might not be exactly what someone wants to do, but maybe they want to travel on a boat, or maybe they want to, you know, whatever. Like they want to do something that's a little bit unique or different.
A houseboat.
Yeah, like just figure out how to do it. And, you know, we don't plan on doing this forever. I mean, we don't know where life's going to take us, and maybe we will end up doing it a little less time or a little more time if we can figure out a way to make it financially. But
we know in the end we won't regret it.
Exactly.
Who regrets going to see other states, seeing things, hiking?
You never regret experiences, and you never regret spending time with your family. You just don't. Nobody in their elder years ever says that, you know, except for, I don't know, maybe some very difficult family situations. But for the most part, you're not going to regret that. And again, we don't want people to think that like we're rich. We're not at all. We don't want people to think that this is like some luxury vacation and that we're just spoiled rich people, because we're certainly not. And it's just showing people that, you know, by making these conscious decisions to change your lifestyle, but it takes baby steps, and it takes, you know, and we can get into more of that, you know, another day. But basically the reason that we are doing this is so that we can show us, as well as our kids, the country and eventually the world. And we live in such a huge, beautiful country. John and I have both seen like 22, 23 states each. Most of them are the same, with the exception of a few. Daniel has seen 6, I think, or 7, and then William has seen 3. Now he's seen 4 as of a few days ago.
That's who you keep hearing.
And so, you know, we want to see every single state. And another thing too is a lot of people ask us, why do we care about seeing, you know, North Dakota or whatever? And we're like, why not? So again, it's just a different mindset. And I'm not saying that we're right and other people are wrong, but to us, it's like, why wouldn't we want to see all this stuff? So, and here I am talking about spending money, and we just got to take out Burger King coffee, but that's very rare that we ever do that. So
it's a sponsor.
Yeah, it's like $1 coffee. And so again, our mindset is just different. We feel like, why wouldn't we want to see all the states? Why wouldn't we want to see the world? I mean, people have these different hesitations about things because they're different, or they might think that they're boring. So there's some states that people are like, well, that's boring. They don't even know anything about it. They're just making a judgment. Or there's other places around the world, or even the country, that they'll say, well, that seems dangerous, or that seems, you know, like it's too different for me, or whatever. And, you know, to us, it's like, no. we want to see you do it all.
It comes down to, like we were saying earlier, it's like you go through this day to day, every day, in and out, this and that, of that rinse, wash, and repeat of you get up, you go to work, you come home, you do it all over again until the weekend hits. The weekend's about the time where you get your time of doing whatever. And usually you're pretty burnt out from working so hard during the week as it is. You don't feel like doing anything on the weekend. And so the weekend's shorter because you're trying to rest and recover, and then it's just rinse and repeat of a whole new week. Well, for us, it's thinking about like, well, if we make some right decisions and some right financial choices, then we'll be able to do something like this and then have all the experiences. I don't know if you're like me, but when you're in a job for so long, it's like time seems to just fly by. It's like all of a sudden you've been there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and for me, it's when I think back, it's like, were any of those meaningful? Like, were any of those, how is that first year different from year 3, year 5? It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Now with doing something like this, we're making all the choices to where we can do something like this. Now every day is like, where do we want to go? What kind of hikes do we want to do? What things do we want to see? It's not a constant, I see the same people, same thing, you know, clock in, clock out, kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, us included, have felt it at jobs and in life in the past. I mean, even after I stopped working and stayed with the kids, you feel stuck. People feel stuck a lot. And we were tired of feeling stuck. So, you know, that was another factor as well. Well, anyway, we're getting close, and we probably have been going on way too long, but we'll talk to you guys again soon. We're going to break down more of like our finances, and how we are able to afford this, what we've done, and more of the details of like our camper, how we plan our days, how we pack up for hikes with the kids, you know, what things we bring. We're going to break down all of those different types of things, and hopefully help people a little bit if this is kind of something you're interested in, or thinking about doing. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, bye.
See ya.